screaming and cursing and yelling and going crazy. They're going to say, our offense still stinks. 3 for 10. Justin Fields went 3 for 10. We told you this is horrible. We're not going to score a touchdown the entire season. What a terrible day for Green and White Day. 3 for 10. We have no passing game. What's going to happen? Oh my God. Fire the coaches. Go out and get Herdon Hooker from Detroit. These are the kind of things that you're going to hear after the green and white practice scrimmage today. But was it really that bad? Let's keep it in perspective after this. Jets chaos will never die. He will never, never, never die. Jets chaos will never die. Okay, we're back. So look, the practice didn't go on for that long. It was 10 pass attempts. And again, it was practice. The other thing that we have to understand is the media was there, right? Lots of footage, lots of filming, lots of fans filming. Do you really think we did anything then other than running a very vanilla offense? Do you think we really did any complex plays or any of the the weird alignments and ways like Pittsburgh? I think Pittsburgh, we have to assume, is going to look at any footage. Do you think we're really going to give away what our game plan might be, that we're going to show all the different plays we might run? Or do you think we just ran very basic running and pass plays with very basic vanilla routes? The other thing is that regardless of what kind of plays we run, it's a practice. And we know that sometimes the defense wins practices and has better days, and sometimes the offense has better days. That being said, in the past, we've seen green and white day in the last 5 years, like in the last 4 or 5 years. We've seen days where the offense was so terrible they didn't score a touchdown. It was a complete mess. It was a complete joke, where it was just like people just walked out with like de-energized because it was so bad. That wasn't the case this time. Although, yes, today's practice didn't exactly get you excited about our passing game, at the same time, we still scored touchdowns, because one of the reasons one of the things, even if you're not the biggest Justin Fields fan, that we all are a little bit excited about is that we could, even if he's not the best passing quarterback, we've seen him win games because he could run. He could run with the ball. And we saw that in the practice and the scrimmage today. He had 2 touchdown runs. Breece Hall also had an 8-yard touchdown run. Many third down plays were extended because of Justin Fields' legs. So extending drives. Look, we'd love to score 25, 26 points a game. First year, this team's never scored over 20 a game, even with Aaron Rodgers on average, right? We've been terrible. So what you have to understand is, if we come in with Justin Fields, if he's able, because of his running, to get us inside the red zone more often, and we are able to get some touchdowns with Breece Hall running the ball, we're going to be a running team. There's no doubt about it. We're going to be pounding the football. But there's also times where he's going to drop back to pass and then just take off. And he's an electric runner, Fields. There's going to be big plays. The other thing is, Garrett Wilson's going to get targeted a lot. Mason Taylor's going to be... We're not showing every little look and everything we're going to do in the way it's going to look. It's just not going to happen. And then at the same time, we're also ignoring some really good things on the defense that we should be happy about. Will McDonald, again, lighting it up in camp. Michael Clemens continues to defy everything we believe about him, as he's having an outstanding camp. And I want to say something about that. There are too many fans that, because it's like this it's like emotionally disturbed. We're Jet fans. I understand that Michael Clemens hasn't played well and had some penalties, and you're mad at that. But to actually root against the guy and be upset that he's good, if he's good, like there are guys that sometimes for a few years it's not that great, and then they start to grow. I don't know what Clemens is going to be. I don't think he's going to be a star or anything special. But he might be a solid depth piece, like a first, second down, early down edge, a guy who gets 15% of the reps during the game. 15%, not 50, 15%. Maybe they're going to give him more, and I'm wrong. Maybe they really like him. Maybe it's going to be every first and second down. Maybe he's going to be the run-stopping edge. I don't know. It's going to be hard to justify keeping Will McDonald off the field or Jermaine Johnson off the field. But he might be the number 3 guy in the rotation, and he might be good and make plays. And if that was to happen, we should be happy about that. We shouldn't be mad and say, why Michael Clemens? Who cares? Maybe he's finally being coached up. Maybe he's got the right coaches. Maybe it's the right scheme. Who cares? If he's good, he's good. I mean, it's like root for the guy. He's a Jet. If he, you know what I mean? He's like, he's our guy. He's our guy. He's a Jet. I understand you wanted him to play better. We have a new coaching staff. Guys like Jeremy Ruckert, the players jumped all over him and went nuts because he made a key block that got Justin Fields into the end zone. Why are we hating on that? Oh, Justin Ruckert. Why? We have coaches now. We have a new scheme. He's in year 4. Maybe he's stepping up. Maybe he's finally getting his chance. Who cares? Like, let go of the past. We're evaluating players now. We're in this scheme with these coaches. It's like, let go of it. The anger that people have towards their players is just unbelievable. Like, I've never seen anything like it. Eddie McGuire says, never understood the Clemens hate. Jets give Hive, I guess. Coaches love his practice habits. It's contagious. Yeah, I don't understand what Matthew Smith is saying. You know, you didn't see the press conference. You didn't see all the tweets about the green and white practices that took place. Like, I'm reacting to that. I don't know what you're talking about. But, like, we really need to stop hating on players and just rooting for them and cheering for players. You know, it was every scrimmage when the Jets play a scrimmage, when they have run a scrimmage, there's defense, Jets, offense, Jets. Whether it's a good offensive play or a good defensive play, automatically that means you have to be concerned about one side or the other. Now, like, what I'm saying is, it's amazing how Rich Cimini will pick out anything he can to cause panic in the Jets world. Yes, the passing game didn't look as great, but they're vanilla plays. And our defensive edges played really well. And Sauce Gardner, they said, was unreal, that he was glue on the wide receivers, so it was really hard for Justin Fields. You know, and that's good stuff too. Because what's happened is it was a little of good things on both sides and concerns on both sides, right? Like our receivers couldn't get open after Garrett Wilson, our number 2, 3 receivers struggled to get open, but there was a lot of pressure on Fields, so they didn't have a lot of time, and the cornerback play was really good, right? There's like this give and take. Hey, Justin Fields, 25-yard touchdown run or something like that. Yay. Concern on the defense. Like, why, what broke down? Why did we let him run a 25-yard touchdown run? So, like, you can't win on both sides at the same time. Like, we just have to understand, like, we're practicing against ourselves. So a good play for either way means a bad play for the other. We don't know what that means in a game against another team, though. What if our offense and defense are both playing at a very good level? One is winning over the other sometimes. But the question is, how are they going to do against another team? Maybe the defense is going to be very good against another team. Maybe the offense will be fine. Look, we're not going to be a great passing team. Do we expect that? We need the passing game to be good enough. We need it to be good enough to make plays sometimes, especially in the red zone, be able to make some plays, key plays in critical moments. But it's the running game and the defense that's going to carry this team. It's turning around finally, being a team that gets turnovers. These are the things. If there's anything that we should be concerned about today at all, that we really have to keep working on, and he addresses it constantly, is the penalties. And again, people aren't understanding. Yes, there were 12 penalties in scrimmage today. Yes, that's too many. The good news is they were competitive penalties. They weren't the kind of penalties that make you want to just, if you had it, rip your hair out. Right? These weren't the kind of penalties where, illegal motion, illegal alignment, delay a game, like all this nonsense. They were competitive penalties. Like that means holding, illegal block, whatever. And that's stuff that they're working on. I mean, like that's part of what camp is. I mean, we're probably only a third through camp, if that's like 20% through camp. I mean, we're just starting camp, right? There hasn't even been a preseason game. Camp is 6 weeks, and I think we're 2 weeks in. So there's still a month to go or 5 weeks to go. Like, they're working on technique. Yes, there were some holdings. Like, there's things we got to do. But at least we're not doing illegal, like motions and formations. I mean, last year was just, I mean, it was horrendous. So, yes, we want to cut down the penalties. There's no question about it. But, I mean, it's more digestible to have penalties where it's like on the field playing penalties, like holding and things like that. And those are things that'll have to be cleaned up, or players will lose jobs, right? They'll get benched if they can't do their job without committing a penalty. 10 years plus lost in the woods of sloppy, undisciplined mess. It will take time to get out of the woods. Glenn has that right on the right trail out. Eddie, that's great point too. I mean, it's like everybody just wants it to be away. Like the reporters are trying to create a story, and Rich, they're trying to pick and listen that. And blah, blah, blah. It's another really good point. Like, you really, was the expectation he's going to come in and just fix the problem? We're the most penalized football team over the last 3 or 4 years, one of the most undisciplined football teams, and we're 2 weeks into the first practice. Like, we're 2 weeks into the season in practice and camp. Do you really think all the penalties are going to go away just because Aaron Glenn said so? Like, it's going to be a process. But now we get to see about the accountability. When these penalties happen, what's the accountability? What is he going to do to get these players to stop committing these penalties? That's part of the question. But there was never really a realistic, all of a sudden, the Jets don't commit penalties anymore. Voila, magic. I mean, but one of the things we're seeing that I think the most exciting thing is we're watching players that we drafted 3 or 4 years ago that were either regressing or not progressing. And they're the stars of camp. Like, that's exciting stuff. Like, McDonald being dominant in camp is a lot of fun. Michael Clemens having an outstanding camp, pushing around Olu, penetrating, getting through Olu, who's been having a great camp, by the way, and today struggled against Clemens. This is good stuff. Jeremy Ruckert making the play of the game of the day. Everybody's super excited about him. Like, there's things going on, positives that we just ignore because of our trauma. Right? Oh, 3 for 10. That's all people are going to talk about. Fields was 3 for 10. What about his touchdown runs? What about the fact that he was extending drives? What about the fact that guys we were giving up on look like they're developing into good football players? We thought we're so thin at defensive edge. Maybe we're not. Maybe Jermaine Johnson / Will McDonald, who looks like a freaking beast. I mean, a beast. They're not saying that this guy can't be stopped. Like he might enter the elite level with the top edges in football as a pass rusher, and he's improving as a run stopper. Then you got Jermaine Johnson. We don't hear a lot about him because he's on the pup list. I mean, he's running full speed and he looks fun, But we're gonna start once he gets off that list and starts practicing. Hopefully we'll start hearing some positive about him. And then you got Clemens, three deep at edge. I mean, I've watched this team in years where we don't have any edge, right? Where it's all garbage. Now all of a sudden we might be talking about two starting edges, one that's got 10 sacks last year that might get 12 to 15 this year. And then we got a guy on the other side, Jermaine Johnson, who might be he was more of a JFM type, good edge sealer who I don't know, might get 7 to 10 sacks. And then you got Clemens having an outstanding camp. I mean, what are we complaining about? It's good stuff. Our linebackers, we got two stud linebackers. Got a lot of competition going in for that third linebacker spot. Jamin Davis is not having the best camp, but I heard other guys are. Some Cedric Mullins, guy is. Michael Carter the second coming back after injury. One of the better slot corners in the league, right? And you got Sauce Gardner, who's looking great, right? Getting to play the game, the style he likes to play. Physical, uptight, like freaking man, take out their WR1 receiver, press on the line of scrimmage. That's feeling pretty good to me. Take out their best wide receiver. Whoever we're playing, take out their receiver. Pittsburgh got that guy, DJ, whatever his name is, from Seattle. Take him out. Put sauce on him. Just shut him down. Take him away. It's like, nope, Aaron Rodgers, you don't get him. We got a nice battle for CB2. You got the big $15 million guy, Stevens, who a lot of us think we may have overpaid for, but loving the scheme, hearing good things because he's getting to play press man, which is what he likes, physical defense. But we also got the steal of the draft by getting this kid Thomas in the third round. One of the best steals of the draft. One of the most surprising things in the draft that he even slipped. And he's pushing and playing well. And then we got this kid, once he's healthy again, he's a little banged up, but Malachi Moore. We traded up in the 5th round to get this kid, and he's looking great. There's some exciting things happening. Mason Taylor looking really good. Hearing good things about Membu, learning fast. The O-line as a whole, good run blocking. That was showing again today. Jeremy Rucker being used as like a swing, fullback, tight end, whatever, utilizing his blocking. Like, this is all good stuff that we're hearing. All of a sudden, we're going to be a more complex team. They're using guys' talents. Jeremy Rucker could block. Let's run him. Let's use him at fullback. Let's free up our running backs. By the way, Braylon Allen was having a great camp. He's banged up a little bit, but I think he's back now. Nobody talks about Isaiah Davis. They love him. Great talent. Aaron Glenn was talking about Breece Hall and lining him up as a receiver anywhere because he could run the full route tree. Unlike another coach 2 years ago who said Breece Hall could catch passes. They're talking about him being a legit receiver who runs routes. Like you know what I mean? Like, it's like a Tebow Samuel type. Like, they're acting like Breece Hall is like, a guy you could line wide and run any route. And guess what? He's going to be covered. Like, we saw this last year when he did the go route. The defense, when you do that, when the running back comes out of the backfield before the snap and lines up, who are you covering? The only person at that point, it's a linebacker or a safety. It's a good matchup. That's a really great matchup for a Breece Hall. We finally have a coaching staff that sees that and is going to take advantage of that. So, yeah, we would be better with a better wide receiver too, but we don't know 100% yet. There's question marks. We don't know that this rookie Arian Smith is not going to explode and be the next big thing. Like, he's having an amazing camp, right? We don't know that Breece Hall is not going to catch 600-700 yards receiving. Mason Taylor might get 600-700 yards as a tight end, and that might compensate for that WR2 type thing, right? If Garrett Wilson gets 1,200 yards receiving, because you have to understand we don't exactly have The one thing about Justin Fields is, to this point in his career, he's not a guy that progresses. He doesn't go through multiple progressions. It's kind of like one read, Garrett Wilson not open, check down, right? And that check down might be Brees Hall, who winds up light and runs a lot, is running across the field. Garrett's not there. Let me just dump it off to Brees. It might be Mason Taylor. The other thing that Justin Fields does is it's either first read. Am I going to check down? Maybe I'm not. Maybe I see space. I'm going to pull the ball down and I'm going to run. Look, that was the deal when we got him. There was no way. I mean, I hope people aren't expecting or magically thinks that Justin Fields is going to go back up now into the pocket and spend 3 to 4 seconds in the pocket, going one progression, two progression, three, like he's like freaking a passing quarterback, because he's not. Like that's not what it's going to look like with him. He just doesn't, like, at least it hasn't been. Like that hasn't been his career. He looks for the receiver, and if the receiver's not there, he checks it down or he runs with the ball. I mean, that's most of what he does. I'm not saying he never goes to a second progression. He might go. It might even be the play, like fake it, like look at Garrett, like as a decoy, and then quickly cross over to your wide receiver two who's running this route. If he's there, great. If he's not there, check it down or run. Right. But the point is yes. I mean, it's right now we don't know who the clear WR2 is. We don't know 100%. In this offense, if we're really a full-on running team, we don't know how much that's going to matter. Is it a nice to have? It's nice to have. But I don't know for a fact that this kid Smith is not going to be the real deal. I think we're okay at slot, maybe. It depends on Corley. They're not saying much about Corley. Like Malachi Corley, I'm not hearing a lot about him. So I don't know. Like, is he having a good camp, a bad camp? I don't know. I don't hear anything about Lazard. Nothing. Lazard is another guy we love to beat up, even though he was good last year. Like, it doesn't make sense. Like, before he got injured, and even when he came back afterwards, he was good. I'm not saying he's a star. I'm not saying, oh, we got Lazard, we're winning the Super Bowl. But he's not so terrible. We're so hard on our own players. Like, I don't know why we're so hard on them. Yes, 2 years ago, he was a train wreck. But last year, he was good. Like, he was really legitimately okay. Like a role player, not a WR1. But he was good. He was better than Mike Williams, who we were all excited about. It's like, but we're so hard on our own players. We can't let it go. He dropped the pass 2 years ago. I'm still mad at him. I mean, I understand we can't rely on him. But he's not the future. Lazard is gone after this year. He's just the guy that's there. Because we were never going to fully rebuild this roster in 1 year. It needed to be retooled. We had a lot of issues when this coaching staff took over. I think they resolved a bunch of them. They rebuilt the back end of the roster. They got rid of all the scrubs or whatever, tons of scrubs. They brought in, and you have to do that because you need a deep team, right? That's what they focused on. And they brought in guys, value deals, short-term commitments, bridge guys, just so we could put a team on the field. Some of them might make it and be re-signed or extended later. Like, we did that. We went in and we drafted a bunch of young players. They brought in some undrafted free agents. A couple of them having a good camp, look like they could be contributors. We kept the core, the guys that we wanted to keep and that we want to be here. It was a good first off season. Was it ever really going to be, Aaron Glenn comes in with Moogs and Muji, and they totally fixed the roster in 1 year? That wasn't possible. If you looked at the cap situation, because of the dead money we're giving to Aaron Rodgers, if you looked at the amount of holes this team had, free agents that were leaving, it was never realistic, and there was never a possibility that this was going to be 1 year and we have a complete roster. It's just, no. But I think they got off to a good start. And I think, can you imagine another offseason like this offseason? Where next year we add on another, do a lot of what they did last year and keep filling the roster. And then once we're a playoff team, hopefully, if everything goes right, and we are, whether it's this year, next year, then you start pushing more chips in the middle. That's when you start being more aggressive to bring in those final pieces. Right now, we just have to build the core, though, right? We just have to get, you know, all the positions filled with players that are respectable players. What I love is that some of it is coming without having to go out and get it. Like maybe they could salvage a Michael Clemens, maybe they could salvage a Jeremy Ruckert, maybe they could salvage players like that, and we can actually get some quality, like fill those spots, those depth pieces with guys that are already there, which would be really nice. It's Crimson, you dig? How you feel about your team this year? I feel like I'm not setting high expectations, but I like the direction, and I'm hopeful. If you look at the last 8 to 9 games on the Jets schedule, I mean, I'm not saying we're going to win those games because we shouldn't laugh or look at anybody as an easy win because we won 5 games. So we're the easy win on everybody else's radar, right? But if we play competitive and play well, those last 9 games, 7 of them, 8, like almost maybe 8, are very winnable. Like every week we have a good chance. Like it's like if you look at our schedule, the last 8 games, it's not like I think there's one against Buffalo and that's it, right? And every other game is a real game that we can compete against. Like we're playing Cleveland, we're playing Jacksonville, we're playing. Like if you look at those games, Miami, New England, these are all games, not wins. I'm not marking them off as easy wins, but they're all games that we can be competitive, right? They're not games where it's like, how in the world could the Jets possibly win that game? So if we play well and we take the right steps forward, we have a chance to compete and win 7, 8 games this year. I know that makes people want to throw up because it's just another year of us missing the playoffs, but it would be a tremendous step in the right direction. I think the biggest problem with our team is that we should be really focused on. Um, it seems like like what the problem or the concern we should be the most focused on is quarterback, because is Justin Fields going to be the guy or not, right? And it's more like it doesn't look like it's very likely based on historical measures. Um, and that's going to be the issue because if he's clearly not the guy, if it's another frustrating year of, yeah, he runs well, but he's clearly not the guy, then we have to go into the draft and draft a quarterback, and then we have to develop a rookie quarterback. We have to go through the motions, and that's going to just, it's not going to be easy. So, um, we knew this was the problem. Like we went all in with Aaron Rodgers, and it blew up in our face. That's great. Seems like you have a new coach. Who's your OC? The OC is the passing coordinator, wide receivers coach from Detroit last year, who was the #1 offense in the NFL. Estrand. I think it's Estrand. Yeti, is that how you pronounce it? Is it Estrand? It's something with the EST, one of these weird names. Estrandahan, Estraban, it's Estrands or something. He's our offensive coordinator. We don't know. He's a rookie offensive coordinator, so nobody really knows. But he comes from a great system in Detroit, so we're going to find out. And then, of course, we got, everybody likes Aaron Glenn, right? I think it's so far everybody's impressed with him. Let's see if he can actually win games. Yeah, we have a solid core. That's what people got to realize. That it's a solid core of players. There's a lot of good players on our team. I think there are guys that are going to emerge as stars. Um, you know, uh, like Will McDonald. There's, I could be wrong, and he might be the same guy. Just pass rush specialist, not 8 to 11 sacks, not good against the run, or not great against the run. Just okay. Like in people's mind, I think he's better against the run than people give him credit for. I think it's exaggerated, but he might be a guy where Clemens plays the running downs and McDonald's is the pass rush specialist. Jermaine Johnson gets the bulk of the reps on the other side. And then we hope whoever wins the 4th spot, could spell him and give him a rest sometimes. Maybe it's that Watts guy. But we potentially have 2 star edges, in McDonald and Jermaine Johnson. I think Jermaine Johnson, again, I always see him more as a JFM type, maybe better. I'm not saying he's not going to be better than JFM, but I see him as a guy who might not, I don't know if he's ever going to be a high sack guy that gets 15 sacks, 12 plus sacks. He might be a 7 to 9 sack guy, but he's a great run stopper, like seals the edge, which is fine. And then McDonald is your guy who gets the big sack total, right? And then now we play a defense that's actually going to use linebackers to blitz. So maybe you're going to see Quincy Williams getting 6 sacks, 7, something like real. And then maybe you see Sherwood getting a few sacks, right? And then maybe Quinnen is going to get back to 8 to 10 sacks. And all of a sudden, now we're a team that's getting a bunch of sacks. So yay, that's good stuff. Maybe even Clemens gets a few. We got one of the top elite cornerbacks in football. I don't care what anybody says. Sauce Gardner is one of the best pass coverage cornerbacks. I think that we potentially have an emerging safety in this guy Cisco. I think he's a lot. I think if you ask anybody who watched Jacksonville, he's better than we think he is, and we're giving him credit for. We may have found gold with this kid Molokai Moore out of Alabama in safety, who's impressing at camp and looking really good. There's exciting parts to this team, but like the established stars, Sauce Gardner, Quincy Williams, Quinnen Williams, Will McDonald, Michael Carter II, Sherwood. There's a lot of good. I'm glad you feel that way, Crimson. I think Sauce is really good too. He doesn't have to be the best, but yeah, I mean the point is he's a legit CB1, one of the top pass coverage guys. If Sauce Gardner could shut down the other team's best wide receiver, that's all we could ask. Interceptions would be great. All the other things would be great. It'd be great if he became a better tackler. Whatever. Shut down the other team's WR1. That's. A lot of teams don't have a quarterback who's capable of doing that. So if our guy could do that, we're good. That's like one of the formulas we need to be able to win some of these games. Like against Miami, I don't know who their WR1's going to be now. Tyreek Hill had an off year, and Waddle took a big step up. He killed us last year, Waddle. This year, just you see a guy killing you, you just put sauce on him all day. And the thing is like I honestly believe that we potentially have a superstar cornerback in this kid, Azaria Thomas, who just slipped in the draft for some reason. So we're looking good in the secondary. It looks like we have good guys there. Offensively, I believe, this is the Brees year, do or die year for Brees Hall. Is he a legitimate superstar, star running back, or is he not? But just in case, Braylon Allen and Isaiah Davis are two really good young backs. So the room overall looks really good. Good tight end, good camp from our rookie tight ends in Mason Taylor, who has a really good pedigree and looks really good. And he's a vacuum, rarely drops passes. Although I think he dropped one today in green and white scrimmage. Let's get those out of the way. The offensive line might be the strongest component of the team. If you say what's the strongest part of the New York Jets, it might be right now legitimately be the offensive line. So that's really important place to start. I think we could use some help at defensive tackle. Like when you look at both line, when you talk about controlling the line of scrimmage and you look at the defensive and offensive line, the offensive line looks like the strongest part of the team. The defensive line, we're really strong at edge, and we got one of the best defensive tackles in football in Quinnen Williams. We'll see what the other guys can do that we picked up. But the only weakness there, the only place to grow or improve there might be to pick up a really good defensive tackle. And, in next year's offseason, that's not going to be that hard, right? Like, that's not one of the hard positions to fill, where you scratch your head and say, where are we going to find a decent defensive tackle in the NFL? Whether you go free agency or whether you go to the draft, that's a good problem to have. The biggest question mark on the New York Jets is quarterback. Is Fields going to be the guy? That's the question. Everything else is fine. Like everything else is so fixable. The places we need a little depth, the places we need, we need to add a little bit more help in defensive tackle. We need to help in wide receiver. Maybe if none of these guys step up, next year we might need to draft a wide receiver, find a wide receiver too, find a defensive tackle. These could be what we do in the first few rounds of the draft, free agency. Like it's nothing that big of a deal. It's all quarterback. That's the question. That's what's going to determine where this team is. Quarterback. Is Fields going to be the guy or not? Next year is going to be a little challenging because we're going to have AVT and Simpson. McGuire is saying it completely right. I say you extend AVT and Simpson right now. Just make them part of this team's future while we can get them on the cheap. Yeah, we did a lot to improve the line. We used the first round draft pick. We used our first pick, the 7th pick of the draft, on Membu to be our right tackle. So now we have Olu Fashanu, who's last year's #1 pick out of Penn State at left tackle. And we got Membu at right tackle. We got AVT at guard. That's great. Simpson, who we got from Baltimore, who had a great year for us last year. And then we got Joe Tippmann, a really solid center. So we have probably our best offensive line that we've had. I think this is the best offensive line since the Rex Ryan years, since 2010 to 2011. I can't remember this team having a better offensive line. So we finally got that together. Yeah, the offensive line thing is looking great. Moogie should sign AVT and Simpson. Yeah, there's no question. Yeah, I agree that wide receiver 2 is not that important right now because of who our quarterback is and the identity of the team. Like if we're a run first team, um, and we have a good tight ends and we have a running back, all our running backs are good receivers. You have Garrett Wilson. I think people are over exaggerating the wide receiver 2 situation. But if Fields is not the guy, and suddenly you go into the draft and you draft Drew Aller, or you draft Arch Manning, or you draft Newsombaum, or whatever the hell his name is from LSU, and suddenly you have a real quarterback that's going to now open up the opportunity to have a full passing game. At some point you're going to need a wide receiver too. Also, you have to understand what if Garrett Wilson, God forbid, knock on wood, gets hurt. You have to have another receiver that can come in there and be your lead guy. So yeah, I see you saying guard play is more important now. Yeah, but that's another thing. Like, I don't know. Dom C makes finding guards easy, in my opinion. Like if you have good talent evaluators, it's not hard to fill guard. Every year he finds these guards that go in the second, third, fourth rounds of the draft, and they end up being fine in the NFL. But man, the most important thing to me is we have to figure out um, if Fields is Justin Fields. It's all quarterback. It feels like we have the right coach in Aaron Glenn. It's just quarterback now. It's like, is Fields the guy, or do we have to draft? And then when we draft, if we draft a quarterback, do we draft right? Is that guy going to pan out? It's quarterback. I'm telling you, all the other little things will come into place. They will. It's quarterback. It's like we just have to get a quarterback. And if Justin Fields steps up and he's really good, and this system works for him, and he makes us an offense who could score touchdowns, then okay, that's the guy. And if he's not, then we have to wait to the draft patiently, and we have to figure it out. I don't care if we have to trade up. We have to make it happen. We have to get a quarterback. It's just that simple. It's like the other things are all so meaningless. Like it's so funny because no matter how excited I get about the running backs and the offensive line and the defensive line and Will McDonald, and like what if Cisco and this guy Thomas works out and the secondary is amazing, and suddenly our defense, we got this great coach who has been a head coach. He has tons of experience. All this stuff means nothing if you don't have a quarterback in this league. Like, that's the thing. At the end of the day, you gotta have a quarterback. Did you all get a new GM recently? Yeah, we got this guy Moogs from Muji from Denver. He was an assistant GM in Denver. Um, the same bloke that's like, no, we have a new GM, brand new. That he's the one that went out and got Justin Fields. The head coach Glenn and him got rid of Aaron Rodgers. Said it's time for us to move on. So we have a new GM, highly regarded by peers. People said it was a good move. Comes out of Denver. Big thumbs up from Sean Payton. A lot of like the big names that have said positive things about him, and so far he seems to have done a great job. Like he didn't do something stupid, or use all his money and try to go out and get a big star in free agency, which would have been stupid because we have so many places we need to improve. He went out and he got good value guys, 1 to 2 year deals, fill the holes in the roster, go into the draft a lot of young players, extend Sauce Gardner and Garrett Wilson, and keep the core young players around. Like he's doing everything that we could, I think, as a fan base, hope a general manager would do. So far so good. But you know what? You bring up a good point. If Justin Fields isn't the guy, what's really going to determine, what's going to define him as a GM is going to be, does he find us a quarterback? At the end of the day, that's how GMs are measured. If you don't find the quarterback, you're just not gonna be a successful GM. You have to hire a good coach and a good quarterback. Everything falls into place and feels so much easier. Like look at Kansas City, right? Look at New England with Brady. It just seems like everything else works after that. You get a coach, you get a quarterback, and it's just so easy after that. Like look how easy it was for these teams once they had the quarterback and the coach. It's just easy. Filling in all the other spots. Some years it didn't work out for those teams, and then they fixed it and they went out. It's easy if you have the quarterback and the coach. But if you don't have the quarterback and the coach, it's almost impossible because it's just they have too much of an impact on what happens on the field. Can Engstrand work magic with Fields? That's the question. I don't know if he'll ever be able to do fast processing. I don't think that you could. I don't think the answer. Um, I don't think the answer is going to be turn Fields into this quarterback that could suddenly progress and go through progressions and process. And I don't know. It could be. I could be wrong, but I don't think that's the answer. I think the answer is, can you build an offense around him? And do RPOs, like quick get rid of the ball, quick design plays, one read, check it down, one read, take off, run. Can you define an offense that fits his skill set? Let's be honest about Justin Fields. On the positive side too, there were moments where he looked like a really good quarterback. His issue has been consistency, right? That's really is it. It's not that he's never shown flashes of being a good NFL quarterback. It's not like, oh, but he's never looked good. Like that's not true. There are many drives, there are games, halves, quarters. There's big chunks of football play where Justin Fields looks very good. He's just hasn't been consistent. But part of helping a quarterback be consistent is calling the right plays and having an offense that's designed to focus on his strengths. Unfortunately, this is going to be a terrible offense. I mean, that could be your opinion based on the players you see on the field now, or because you don't like Justin Fields. But if it's based on just today's practice, that's what I'm trying to say no, 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 no. Like we cannot overreact and say that they're going to have a terrible offense this year because of a scrimmage. A scrimmage where they scored touchdowns, by the way. Like we've had past years where the green and white day we go in there and the offense does nothing. They don't even get first downs. A few years ago, 2 years ago on green and white day, I think it was 3 years ago, we didn't even get a first down. It was like terrible. Now we have a quarterback that's running for touchdowns. So um, I'm not sitting here saying we're going to have a great offense this year because Justin Fields, we just don't know. We're just going to have to see because it's just all about quarterback. But I don't think that we have a billion holes or anything like that. I think that we could fix if Smith is not the guy in the wide receiver room, because Lazard and those other guys are all old. Josh Reynolds, they're all old. They're all gone after this year. They're just band-aids for this year. We didn't have the resources to fill the entire roster. We just didn't. So we had to do some band-aids. That's what that is. So we're gonna find out if this kid Smith or Corley could step up and be something. Otherwise, yes, it's true. We're gonna have to fix the wide receiver room in the future. We're gonna have to do that. But for this year, we got some band-aids because we couldn't do it all. There was no way to fix the entire roster. So that's what it's going to be. You all wanted to trade for this freaking wide receiver last year. Uh, Rogers' buddy, Devontae Adams. So now we got stuck and we lost all this money and we're going to have all this dead cap money. And now we have to freaking deal with the repercussions of that. Gave away a pick that could have been a wide receiver. I mean, this is what happens when you go out and you say we have to have every single star and we have to trade for everybody. Well, there's a cost. And now you're feeling that cost. So now we have holes in our roster that we have to fill. And that's just the reality. So there's not enough cap space and there's not enough draft picks to address every single position. It just wasn't. So guess what? Yeah, wide receiver room. If one of those guys don't step up, even if they step up, Lazard's gone, Reynolds is gone. Like a lot of these guys are just aging veterans. We're going to have to revamp that room behind Garrett Wilson no matter what we do. But we might have something in Corley. We don't know. And this kid, Arius Smith, is having an great camp. He's having a great camp for a rookie. So he might be our WR2. We don't know. We're going to find out. But, don't be surprised. Yeah, believe it or not, we don't have a complete roster. If you go back last year to the last 5 games of the year, when the season was coming to an end, as the season ended, you didn't know that we had roster issues? Did anybody really believe that a new GM was going to come in and fill this roster? And we were going to be a complete roster in one offseason? This wasn't possible. We had a billion holes. We lost tons of free agents. Luckily, we get comp picks next year because of that. F that. You have Garrett Wilson, Justin Fields launch the ball. There'll be a lot of throwing to Garrett Wilson. Justin Fields will be throwing to him a lot. No one's going to be surprised if they struggle, right? We all know that we might struggle, right? What we're hoping is that maybe the offense they design is a little better than we think, and maybe we're going to be the 2009, 2010 Jets offensively, like run the ball. Like maybe we're just going to run the ball. Baltimore, Philadelphia, there are teams out there that do a really good job at running the ball. Am I thinking we're going to be as good as them? No. But we might be a better offense than we've been the last few years, just because we get an identity and we have a real coach. But I think that, the expectations, am I setting them high? No. I'm not here to sit here and set high expectations. I'm not here claiming the Jets offense is going to be great, good, or anything. I'm saying is, and that's a great thing to talk about. What should the expectations be? Well, let's hope that Mason Taylor has a good year and does everything we asked him to do. Let's hope that some of our offensive linemen, if they have to play, if there's injuries, Mitchell, Warren, let's hope that some of these guys develop now that we have a real coaching staff. Let's hope that Tippmann steps up and gets to the next level. Let's hope that Membu looks good and that we made the right draft pick. Let's hope that Olu progresses and now steps in and starts to rise and to be a top 10 tackle in the league. Like there's a lot of things that we could look for for positive, even though we might not be ready as a team to really win a lot of games. But there's a lot of things like for the future moving forward that we have to hope that we see. Like if Membu is terrible and Fashanu doesn't get any better and Tippmann's the same and doesn't, start to continue, his ascent and the offensive line isn't that good, then we're dead. Because now we don't have a quarterback. We still, now now we got real problems. But I think Eddie said it before. We have to lock in Simpson or AVT or at least one of the two. Like, we can't lose them both to free agency next year, because then next year becomes all about guards. And then how are we going to deal with wide receiver? Because now we're going to have to deal with getting new guards. And then we have an offensive line that has no chemistry anymore because we lost both guards. And then we have to still get more wide receivers. And we don't even know if Justin. And then the whole thing just blows up and we're back to square one. So we need to lock up we need to lock up at least one of the guards, at least one, if not both. We need to hope that they develop and everybody's good. And we need to hope that the worst case scenario is we need a defensive tackle, another wide receiver, and maybe the first round pick has to be a quarterback. Right? That's what we're hoping. Is the worst of it. We knew it was going to be it was going to take time to fix this roster. We knew it. So what we have to hope is, the thing is, even if we're 3-10, the thing you got to be watching on the field is how many holes are there on our team that we have to fill next year, because we knew it was going to be a 2-year build, at least a 2-year build. So I'm hoping that we lock up at least one of the guards, so that's not a big thing. And that we go into next year, yes, we're going to probably need more help in the wide receiver room, but maybe it'll be just one need there, maybe another defensive tackle, a need there, and none of those two are going to be addressed with the first round pick. Most likely we're going to go for a quarterback. So quarterback in the first round, second and third round, defensive tackle, wide receiver, free agency. Maybe we get a defensive tackle, another one that way. Unless the moves we made pan out. Maybe we're fine at defensive tackle. Maybe this kid we picked up from Kansas City is fine. Maybe LT3 gets coached up and is fine. Like, we're going to find out. These are the things we're going to learn. Like, we might be fine. And we might only have to focus on wide receiver. Or maybe we have, you know what I mean? Like, these are all the things we're looking for, right? These are all the things this year is going to be about. We're not winning a Super Bowl this year. We're not a championship caliber team. This is going to be a year of answering questions. Who are the New York Jets? Is this going to be our offense? Are we going to be a Justin Fields run-first offense, and are we going to be great at it? Are we going to look like the Pittsburgh Steelers had for many years? Right? But they had Ben. But they've also won without Ben, because their identity is a running team with good defense. So there's a lot of questions. But the one thing that I wouldn't expect is the Jets to come out and win 10, 11 games. If that's what you're hoping for, I hope, but, don't expect it. Like, please don't expect that. And then, I don't know how you could expect that. And there's no question about it. Nobody is claiming it. We are not a championship level team right now. We're not contending for a championship. That's not realistic. We're trying to determine, how bad is this ship? How bad is the damage? Right? We got a new coach coming in. This season is going to be about, what can this team do? What are we going to be happy about? What boxes can we check? And what boxes are going to be left to check? That's what the 2025 Jet season is going to be. And hopefully we'll get some excitement in there. Hopefully we will win some games. And there's always the chance that you steal a playoff spot, wild card. There's always that little chance, that hope. That's why we watch. Jets 15 says, honestly, I think we'll be in contention this season as a dark horse. That'd be great. The coach is not playing around, and Fields can be the guy we're in for a good season. And that's the line of that you can't say it any better than that. If Fields can be the guy, we are in for a good season. You can't say it any better than that. Because what position does Fields play? It's just, you just have to have a quarterback. The Jets should not draft a quarterback in the first round. Look at how many successes the Jets have had drafting a quarterback in the first round. I can't do that, Parlin. I can't look at the past and say, like, you draft a quarterback in the first round if the quarterback is there. You draft the guy you like. How about that? Now, the guy I like might not be the guy that Moogs likes. But if you're in the first round and there's a quarterback there that you like, you draft him. You don't say, oh, but in the past it didn't work out. You can't do that. Nothing in the past has anything to do with the present. There's no correlation at all. You can't do that. You can't do that. Statistically, if you look in the league at the team with good quarterbacks, what round were they drafted? Yes. Is it possible to get a good quarterback in the later rounds? Yes. Seattle did it once. They got Russell Wilson. Kirk Cousins came in the late rounds. We all know this. Dak Prescott came in the late rounds. But those are 4 or 5 guys we could name in the past 20 years. All the other ones were first round picks, Harlan. All the other ones were first round picks. You want a quarterback in this league, unless you get lucky, unless it's this rare exception, you're going to have to use a first round pick. You just have to. I'm sorry, but that's the way this league is. 5 or, like sometimes you get lucky, sometimes you roll the dice in your head, but if the quarterback is there that you like, you take him. And I agree. You don't reach. You don't take a guy just because you need a quarterback in the first round. It has to be a guy you like. I agree. It has to be a guy you like. But, man, if you like a guy, you take him. You don't sit there and say, well, the other GMs that used to be here used first-round picks on quarterbacks and it didn't work, so we're not going to do it. That's not the way to solve our quarterback issue. The way to solve our quarterback issue is to get it right. To get it right and pick the right guy. Because Sam Darnold wasn't a bust. We just didn't have the right coaching staff. We didn't develop him. And I'm not saying he's a superstar either. I'm not saying he's elite. But you saw with the right coaching staff what you could get out of Sam Darnold. And if they didn't have JJ and Sam Darnold would have been the Viking for the next 5 or 6 years, he'd be a contending quarterback in the NFL on a team contending. So, what do you expect? If people say, oh, Sam Darnold last year, he lost in the big game, who cares? I mean, how many quarterbacks can you name that were better than him last year? I mean, you got Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes. How many quarterbacks are in this league? Everybody else you could criticize. You criticize every other quarterback. Right? Dak Prescott doesn't win the big game. Tua hasn't won a playoff game. You could say that about all these quarterbacks, but they're still better than what we have. Look, it's just not easy to get a Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes or, Lamar Jackson. There's only 3 of them. So it's not easy. So you're going to have to settle for one of these, typically, unless you strike gold, you're just going to have to settle for what's there. But we haven't even had the next level. Like, we haven't had the Tua. We didn't wait for Sam Darnold to develop. We gave up on him too soon, right? We let him go. We don't have the Dak Prescott, Brock Purdy. Like, we don't have that even. So we have to figure that out. Jalen Hurts won a Super Bowl. He's not elite. He's good. But at least you need a guy at least at the level of Jalen Hurts. You need to get a quarterback at least at the level that if you put the right team around him, you could actually win. That's just the way it is. Grandizer says, hey, Jeremy, Baba Booey to you and your wonderful viewers. Thank you. Uncle Jeremy, did you cover the maybe popular topic of going on right now? Should the Jets should not trade for Micah Parsons? I put out a tweet about this. It's absolutely would be a ridiculous trade for the Jets, and let me tell you why. Micah Parsons wants $40 million a year. 4-year deal. Okay? So that's $160 million, and he wants about $115 to $120 million guaranteed. Okay? That's just the salary. So now you're paying quarterback money. Now, he's a future Hall of Famer, probably. He's a Hall of Fame caliber edge. I get it. But on top of the money and the amount of cap space that you would have to give Parsons, right? On top of that, 2 first-round draft picks. We'd have to give away our 2026 and our 2027 draft pick. That means if Fields wasn't the right guy, we wouldn't have a first-round pick for 2 years to find a quarterback. That's the cost. 2 first-round picks and mid-round picks, like a 3rd rounder and a 5th rounder. And you'll say to me, Jeremy, what are you talking about? How do you know that? In 2018, there was a guy named Khalil Mack who the Raiders traded. And that's the only comp we have. And when the Raiders traded him, they got 2 first-round picks, a couple of mid-rounders, and then Khalil Mack signed this giant deal. So that's what you're talking about. You're talking about a 26-year-old guy in his prime who's projecting to be a Hall of Fame edge. We would have to give 2 first-round picks no matter what. There's no way they would do it without that. 2 first-round picks, and we'd have to pay him $40 million a year. His agent is claiming he's worth more than Watt because he's younger. And he might be right. So you're talking about a 4-year deal. You're talking about a 4-year deal. 40 plus million per year. Where's the cap space for that? Look at the Jets on over the cap. Tell me how that works. How could we build a football team after that? Like, we have so much dead money going to Aaron Rodgers. How are we going to keep AVT next year or Simpson, the offensive guards we have to keep? How do we keep Jermaine Johnson if he's good, if he has a great year? How do we do that? What about Quincy Williams? If he continues to play well, he's going to be, we have to re-sign him or extend him. How is any of that going to happen? If we're giving $40 million on a year that we're having to pay Aaron Rodgers still $26 million or something like that in space, plus Fields $20 million, which is 40-something million. So financially, how does it even work? What are you going to do? Cut the rest of the team? Not bring back these guys and just put rookies in at guard on the offensive line? You're going to compromise the whole team for one player? Like it doesn't work. It doesn't work. Did getting Khalil Mack do anything for the Bears? Did they win any playoff games? Even Tyreek Hill, who had one of the greatest seasons, not last year, but 2 years ago. Tyreek Hill, a superstar. A superstar. Miami traded him, and like he's still to Kansas from Kansas City, a superstar. And he came in, and he was one of the guys who actually delivered, right? Like, he actually delivered. Like, it wasn't like, oh, his best days are behind him. Tyreek Hill came into Miami and was amazing. 2 years ago, he had one of the best seasons you could ever see from a wide receiver. It was like Calvin Johnson, right? But Miami didn't win a playoff game. They didn't win a playoff game, right? So, did it work? To giving all the first round, all the draft compensation, right? Why? Because Miami had a shitty offensive line. They had weaknesses here, there, all things that didn't have to be weaknesses, because they could have had the money, the more resource financially that they were paying Tyreek Hill. They could have had all those draft picks back. Imagine they had all those draft pick backs. And I'm not trying to knock on Miami. I'm trying to make a point. It doesn't work. Trading tons of picks and paying money. It's double paying. So you're paying in picks, so now you can't get your own young core stars that you draft. And look how many great players the Jets have drafted. If we didn't have those picks, we never would have had, right? Will McDonald, Garrett Wilson, Sauce Gardner. Those were all draft picks. Number 1 draft picks. Membo, Fashano. All these guys we have that are filling these holes are picks, first-round picks. You need your first-round picks. Right? These are guys that you draft and they make an immediate impact and they become, like if you hit them. Right? If you were just giving the 2 picks, you could argue, but, if it wasn't about the money and it didn't cost a lot, you could say, well, Jeremy, you're giving away 2 picks, but you're getting a Hall of Fame edge. Fine. But you also have to pay him $40 million. You know what I would rather do? I'd rather sign a free agent for $40 million a year, where I don't have to give away my first-round picks. Or I'd rather draft a guy, like maybe a guy named Sauce Gardner or Garrett Wilson. And then when they pan out, I'd extend them and do these extension deals. And not have to trade anything. I'd rather do that. That's how I want to build my team. I want to draft well, get really good players, and extend them. You know what I want to do with that $40 million that people want to pay Micah Parsons? I want to be able to keep guys like Jermaine Johnson and AVT if AVT plays well. That's what I want to do. I would love Micah Parsons, but you know how we're going to get Micah Parsons? By developing Will McDonald. Will McDonald needs to become our Micah Parsons. That's how you get a Micah Parsons. Because the teams that trade for big names, we traded for everyone. Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Adams. Did any of it work? We won 5 games. Like, when are we going to stop this nonsense about trading draft picks and paying all this money for players? It doesn't work. Le'Veon Bell didn't work. We didn't even have to trade for him, did we? We just signed him to a lot of money. Didn't work. It doesn't work. The teams that win by building teams. And then at the end, when they're right on the cusp of competing, when they're a championship level team, just like baseball, before the trade deadline, the good teams, they get an extra player to put them over the top. Right? Look how the Rams did it. The Rams built a Super Bowl team. They built it. They did a trade quarterback for quarterback, fine, but they built that team. Then they went out and they brought in Odell Beckham and the freaking edge from Denver. They did that afterwards to put them over the edge. We're not the Rams right now. We're not a championship contending team, ready to get that final player to put us over the edge. We're not that team. Why would we do that? What is Micah Parsons going to do for the Jets? Did Dallas win any playoff games? I mean, Nick Shine said that right. If he said anything right in his whole life, he made that good point on X. First time he ever made a good point in his life. I'm just kidding. But, like, he made that point, though. Because Micah Parsons doesn't make you a championship team. It's great to have him. I'd love to have him. But if you don't have a championship team, why would you can't? What is getting him going to do? We still don't have a quarterback. We still don't have a good wide receiver room. We still need. Well, next year we're going to have to retain 2 offensive linemen. It's just not how you build it. It's not how teams become great teams. We have to focus on the draft, and we have to be patient and draft good players. I don't want to be patient. I've been waiting too long. But then you'll never win. We can't change the past. We can only look at what works to build for the future. New England got a coach and they got a quarterback, and then what did New England do? They kept building through the draft, and they never overpaid guys. They brought in Randy Moss, but they were already there. They were already a Super Bowl team. So, yes, they were able to bring him in as a free agent, trade, whatever they did to get him. It's just different, right? But the Jets, when we went out and got Rodgers and Devontae Adams, blew up in our face. Miami went and got Tyreek Hill, great player, did great, didn't win a playoff game. Maybe that changes this year for them. I don't know. But I'm just making the point that it doesn't fucking work. Like, it just doesn't work. Like, when does it work? Khalil Mack didn't work. It didn't work. Right? They got this superstar, Khalil Mack. He's amazing. Oh, my God, we got him. They drafted 2 first-round picks and signed him all his money. And what did they get them? Did they win anything? So we've got to stop the whole thing with Terry McLaurin, the wide receiver. We got to get Terry. We got to get Terry. Why? We don't even have a quarterback who's never shown the ability to throw to a wide receiver too. We're literally going to be a run-the-ball team, RPO team. Why would we spend $30 million a year on a wide receiver and give away a first-round pick or whatever he's going to cost? Why would we do that? He's not going to have that impact for us. Maybe a team that doesn't have a good WR1, that needs a premier wide receiver, would go out and get Terry. And maybe that would make sense for that team. But it doesn't make sense for us. It's silly for us. If Kansas City found a way to pull off a trade for Terry McLaurin, I can't even say his name. If they were able to get him, that's great because they have Patrick Mahomes. They're a Super Bowl team. Maybe they want to get a true WR1. Fine, not going to argue that. But that ain't us. So, like, can we just drop it? Drop it. It's got to stop. The nonsense about trading and thinking that you could build a championship team through trades. It's just ridiculous. Extend AVT and JJ, please. I agree. Do you have 3 expectations on the 25 Jets this year? Any win, loss, and ties predictions, reasons for hope. I'm really trying to get out of the predictions business. My expectations is, I think we're starting to see it, but what I want to see is real evidence, and I don't know how that looks without wins, but real evidence that the culture has changed. I feel like it's happening already, but we need, like, the Jets were just, spiraling. It was a mess. and just not to be a mess, to just be a real football team. Where the guys stick together and don't fall apart and turn on each other. Coaches that don't make you want to throw up. And I don't know. I would like to see them really establish themselves as a running team, like have an identity, really stick to their guns, and be a team that's going to rush the ball really well, and you know defensively start to have create turnovers and start. I don't know. I don't want to win 5 games only though. They need to win 7, 8 games, and I do kind of have those expectations that we're going to win 7 or 8 games. So I hope that answers your question. The Falcons to try to unload Kirk Cousins. Should the Jets try to trade? Nah, I mean they already built the offense around Fields. So if Fields would have gotten hurt, maybe to salvage this year, but if he wasn't too expensive, but Kirk Cousins doesn't make sense for the Jets. We already put the 2-year investment in Fields. This year, he's either going to be the guy, and then he's the guy, or he's not going to be the guy, and we're going to draft a quarterback. But Kirk Cousins, we can't just keep bringing in 36-year-olds, 37-year-olds. This is not the answer. Yeah, Le'Veon Bell is an example of avoiding the big names, Todd. Exactly. The Le'Veon Bell deal did not work out well for us. Guys, I've got to run. Thanks for everybody in the chat. Thanks for everybody watching. Appreciate the support. I'll be back with Matt O'Leary on Matt O'Leary's channel Wednesday at 3 p.m. Eastern. So if you want to see us in Reality Check, we'll be talking about some of this. Again, I'll be back with Matt O'Leary on the Matt O'Leary channel on YouTube, one of the best Jets content providers out there. And have the honor of being his co-host, and it'll be at 3 o'clock Reality Check on Wednesday. So we'll see you there. Take care. And thanks, Grandizer. Have a good day. Good day to you too. Good day.